Chapter 7 of Tractate Pesachim covers some additional points in the bringing of the Paschal offering in the temple by the holiday of Passover. The Mishnah says, the Paschal offering is roasted. A spit of pomegranate wood is used, spearing the animal through both ends, with the legs and entrails placed inside the animal. Others say that the legs and entrails are hung on the spit outside of the carcass. You can't use a metal spit or a grill. A Rav Tzadok one time had his Passover offering roasted on a grill. The Gemara says why we specifically use pomegranate wood, not metal, which will heat up and cook the animal instead of the fire doing it. And you can't use palm, fig, oak, or sycamore wood, which will secrete liquid, which is considered cooking, not roasting. And the pomegranate wood either doesn't have knots, which secrete liquid, or it's a first-year sapling, and the point where it's severed from the tree is the part sticking out of the animal's mouth, so all of the branch's secretions will just fall to the ground. There are further specifications of this offering discussed. There's some additional discussion in regards to the concern of the presence of blood, and how that applies with other situations like meat in regards to cooking and salting by arteries and veins and similar. Other points from above and related verses are also discussed. These points are qualified further. New Mishnah. As the Paschal offering should be cooked only from the roasting of the fire, if the meat touches the surface of the earthenware oven, that part should be peeled off. If some of the meat fluids dripped into the oven and then splashed back onto the meat, that area should be removed. If it dropped onto nearby hot flour and got cooked, a handful of flour must be removed from that place. If the animal was smeared with teruma oil, then only Kohanim can eat it. If the carcass is raw, it should be rinsed. If it's roasted, the outside should be peeled off. If it was smeared with mais or sheni oil, that value shouldn't be charged, as mais or sheni cannot be sold in Jerusalem. The Gemara qualifies some of these laws. This is all discussed further. New Mishnah. 5 offerings can be brought while communally impure, but may not be eaten while impure. The Omer offering, the 2 loaves offering, the panim bread, the communal shlamim offering, and the chatas he-goat by Rosh Chodesh, the new month. A Paschal offering that's brought while communally impure can be eaten while impure, as it's only brought in the first place for eating. The Gemara excludes from this list the Chagiga offering brought on the first day of Passover, the 15th of Nisan. This is further discussed. The above points and others in regards to these offerings are further qualified. This is all discussed a bit further. There are a few other points in regards to these offerings and laws of purity and impurity in regards to them being brought. There are some more additional points which go on about this for a bit. New Mishnah. If the meat of your Paschal offering became impure, but the fats on the altar are still fine, you don't throw blood on the altar. In the opposite case, if the fats became impure but the meat is fine, you do throw the blood. By other types of offering, if the meat is impure and the fats are fine, you would still throw the blood. The Gemara says an opinion, if the case is where the meat of the offering became impure, but you still threw the blood, it's fine, it works. It's disputed on the necessity to eat the offerings, or if that's just a mitzvah, not a main part of the acceptance of the offering. These points are discussed further. There's some further argument on the discussed cases. New Mishnah. If the community or its majority became impure, or the Kohanim were impure but the community was pure, they could make the Paschal offering in this state. If a minority of the community was impure, the majority of the community makes the Paschal offering, and the impure minority has to wait for the second opportunity by the second Paschal offering on Pesach Sheni a month later. The Gemara cites some sources which discuss these cases. These points on impurity and similar are further discussed. There are some additional cases. Some say if exactly half of a community is pure and exactly the other half is impure, one person should become impure so that way they could all just bring the offering. This is discussed in regards to its logic and methodology. There's another case. What if a third of the community is pure, a third is impure from an emission, and a third is impure from corpses? Some say the corpse impurity ones don't get to make either Paschal offering, not the first time, as the other impurity type and the pure groups join, making the corpse impurities the minority, who don't make the offering, and then with a second Paschal offering opportunity, the other impure groups join together with the corpse group, making them a majority who don't get to make the Pesach Sheni offering. New Mishnah. In regards to a Paschal offering that the blood was thrown and afterwards you find out that it was impure, the tzitz renders it permissible. If the owner himself was impure, then this doesn't work, and the logic is explained. The Gemara discusses these principles. Points on laws of purity on this topic are qualified further. There are some sources on this topic discussed, and some points on additional further laws of impurity. New Mishnah. If the offering or its majority became impure, they burn it before the temple with wood from the altar pyre. If the minority of it became impure or its leftover meat, they burn them in their own courtyards or roofs with their own wood. Some misers would anyways burn it before the temple to use their pyre wood, so they wouldn't need to use their own wood. The Gemara says that the reason that the impure offering must be burnt before the temple in such a manner is that presumably it became impure due to negligence, so we want them to have to do something in a slightly embarrassing manner so that way they're discouraged from doing this again. The point to further discuss. New Mishnah. A Paschal offering that was taken out of Jerusalem or became impure on the 14th should be immediately burnt. If the owners became impure or died, it must be left overnight so its appearance changes, and is burnt on the 16th of Nisan. Others say it should be burnt immediately because nobody's eating it. The Gemara cites some sources. These are discussed further. It also says that the dispute in regards to if the owner became impure or died applies after the throwing of the blood. If it was before, meaning the meat is never fit to be eaten, everyone says that it should be burnt immediately. The opinions are further debated. New Mishnah. Bones, sinews, and leftover flesh from the Paschal offering must be burnt on the 16th of Nisan. If that date was a Shabbos, they're burnt on the 17th, as this doesn't override the Shabbos. The Gemara discusses some additional rulings in regards to the bones of these offerings. This is all discussed further. There's some points in the classification of sinews. Some say only sinews from the neck are considered flesh in this regard, which is debated. Others disagree, saying the discussion is about the gid hanasha, the sciatic nerve, which is forbidden to be eaten. This is further debated with some additional points. New Mishnah. When a group registers to eat a Paschal offering, there must be enough meat for everybody to get an olive volume. Anything edible by a grown ox is considered fit to be eaten by a young kid, including the ends of the shoulder blades and other cartilage. The Gemara cites some related points in regards to different classifications as to what's considered sinew. New Mishnah. The verse says, "And you shall not break a bone on it," in regards to this offering. So if you break the bone of a pure Paschal offering, there was a penalty of 40 lashes. There's no such punishment by doing this with an impure offering or by leaving over a pure Paschal offering. The Gemara discusses the verse's implication of this point and related discussion. There's a bit more lengthy qualification on these topics. It speaks on some of these laws a bit further, and there are some related points. New Mishnah. If part of the limb of a Paschal offering was stuck slightly outside of Jerusalem, you cut to the bone, peel until a joint, and cut off the bone. With other offerings, you just cut it off there, as there's no prohibition with the other offerings against breaking a bone. From the door jamb inward is deemed to be inside in regards to the border of Jerusalem. From the door jamb outward is considered to be outside. The windows and the thickness of the wall is considered to be inside. The Gemara says that these dimensions also apply by prayer in regards to which room you're in. Others disagree, saying a metal barrier doesn't block you from God. We said that the door jamb inward is considered inside, implying that the door jamb itself is considered to be outside. And then we said that the door jamb outward is considered outside, implying that the door jamb inward is inside. So we see the second part refers to the gateways of the courtyard of the temple, which are considered to be inside the temple, and the first part refers to the gateways of Jerusalem, which are considered to be outside Jerusalem. And we bring sources. Some say the rooftops and upper stories of Jerusalem and the temple courtyard are not consecrated. There's debate on this in regards to them saying the Hallel prayer on the rooftops, but we say that that wasn't a time of eating. The point is debated, and we seem to imply that this is the ruling, that the rooftops are not consecrated like the courtyards, and this is discussed. New Mishnah. If two groups were eating the same Paschal offering in one house, they don't need to face each other to show that they're part of the same group, and their kettle can be placed between them. To avoid concern of looking like you're eating in the second location, a waiter who is pouring wine must keep his mouth closed and must turn to face his group. A bride looks away from her group and eats. The Gemara discusses the source of these opinions. These opinions are discussed. Some say a bride looks away as she's embarrassed. There are further points on a group eating together in general. Some say they start eating when three are ready to start, but they can leave one at a time as long as they're entering at a typical time and the waiter is aware of their intentions. Some say that all pay the waiter's wage and the last one should pay extra, but that's not the law we hold like. And that's the end of chapter 7.